My name is Justin Campanola, and this is my rebuttal to Justin Kamenkow's debate that China will eventually invade Taiwan. One of the main points that Justin made was the threat of having to fight the United States wasn't enough to stop Russia from invading Ukraine earlier this year. However, the situation with Taiwan is completely different than that of Ukraine. First of all, uh, the United States is economically interlinked with both Taiwan and China. So, again, in a sense that Tai uh, invading Taiwan will essentially be the same thing as going to war with the United States for China. However, because China is so economically interlinked, it does prove as a disincentive for China to invade Taiwan because it essentially would be, for lack of a better word, you know, sending its economy off a cliff. According to Thomas Kenny, a partner at the Boston Investor Communications Group, China owns over 1.1 trillion in US securities and has a vast trade surplus against the United States. So essentially, personally, I believe that instead of waiting and invading now and essentially facing a war against the United States in addition to facing a war against Taiwan, my argument is that China will and essentially wait it can until its economy can overtake and essentially it can repossess the United States economy to where it won't necessarily matter if China invades Taiwan. Essentially, China will repossess the United States, essentially nullifying its its the threat of the United States in a potential Taiwanese invasion. However, that is of course not without its grim realities as well, and I highly doubt the United States will allow that from a military perspective. However, China would face enormous economic sanctions, and unlike in the case of Russia, um, China is very much dependent on its economy. It matters a lot more to the Chinese government than it does to Russia. Russia has been okay bankrupting its economy in an attempt to basically grow its military parity with the West, whereas for China, it's more about a peaceful rise, and that includes an economic rise. And again, the economy of China is very much important, and it doesn't want to jeopardize that in exchange for invading Taiwan. Additionally, as of right now, Asia, particularly the South China Sea, is a much more contentious area of the world than Eastern Europe is right now. So therefore, China invading Taiwan would essentially be one of the easiest ways to provoke World War III, and China is aware of this and doesn't want to start World War III. Um, According to Harlan Ullman of the Atlantic Council, China also does lack the military capability and capacity to launch a full-scale invasion for the foreseeable future. According to the 3-to-1 rule proposed by most war colleges, China would need at least 1.2 soldiers, and this is out of an active force of 2 million that would have to be transported from China to Taiwan. And that theory is based on a Taiwanese active force of 450,000. And so realistically, that is a invasion of Taiwan is not practical for China, and I think China is aware of this, which is why it hasn't. Um, Additionally, the resolve of the Taiwanese people does appear to be strong, and that is a major form of power, as revealed in the Ukraine crisis. The mobilization and the resolve of the Ukrainian people has proved to be a major factor in combating the Russian offensive, and it's likely that a similar paradigm would take place if China were to invade Taiwan. The Taiwanese people would likely heavily resist any Chinese invasion. So this is why China won't invade Taiwan, despite Justin's view that China views Taiwan as part of its territory, and the threat of the United States isn't enough to stop Russia. potentially is enough to stop China. Thank you.